Okay, thank you everybody for attending our webinar on the Alternative Fueling Facilities Program, or AFFP. We will go ahead and get started. Please note that this webinar is for the Alternative Fueling Facilities Program. It is not for any of our other programs. If you do have a question, um, please feel free to look at our website uh, for any additional program information. Um, and that includes for light duty. You can also call our phone number, uh, which will be provided on the website as well. Uh, and the website you're going to want to go to is terpgrants.org for information on our other programs. Today we are going to talk about AFFP, its requirements, and the requirements when a grant is awarded. If you do have a question regarding the presentation, please make a note of which slide, and we will have time for questions after the presentation is complete. AFFP has a total of $12 million in funding that is divided into $6 million for compressed natural gas projects, CNG, and liquefied natural gas projects, LNG, with $2 million for small business natural gas projects and $4 million for all other natural gas projects. The remaining $6 million is divided into $2 million for small business alternative fuel projects for all other alternative fuel types and $4 million for all other alternative fuel types except for level 2 charging, which is for small businesses only. Any applicant applying as a small business must be registered or certified with one of the following by 5 p.m. Central Time on the program opening date. These include a small business corporation as listed under Subchapter S of the Internal Revenue Code, a woman-owned small business or hub zone program certification by the U.S. Small Business Administration, a veteran-owned small business or service-disabled veteran-owned small business through the Department of Veteran Affairs, a small business concern in the System for Award Management. Eligible applications include individual and legal entities. Any business or legal entity must be registered with the Texas Secretary of State by 5 p.m. Central Time on the program opening date. You must purchase and own the equipment for the contract period of 5 years. You must own or have a legal agreement providing permission from the owner of the location you are planning to build your station. Projects that have been funded under other TXFIMP or TERP programs are not eligible unless it is a reconstruction project, which we will define on the next slide. An eligible project is either the construction of a new facility or the reconstruction of an existing facility. Reconstruction means to provide a new alternative fuel to a site that already has at least one alternative fuel in place. Electricity is considered one alternative fuel, whether it is DC fast charge or level 2. Alternative fuels include CNG, LNG, a combination of CNG and LNG, hydrogen, biodiesel, biodiesel blends, propane, electricity, and methanol, which has to be at least 85% by volume. There are specific requirements for biodiesel and biodiesel blends that are listed in this slide. They are also provided in the request for grant applications. An eligible project is required to be in the Clean Transportation Zone, or CTZ. We will look at a map on the following slide, and a map is also provided in the RFGA. Projects must provide fueling or charging infrastructure at a fixed location for the contract term, meaning it cannot move to different locations. Public facilities are considered before private facilities, and we will discuss what qualifies as a public or private facility in a few moments. Electricity charging projects are available to the public must comply with Texas laws and rules, including those adopted by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. This is a map of the CTZ. For a location to be eligible, it must be within the eligible counties list. The counties highlighted in yellow are priority counties for natural gas projects. Natural gas projects within these counties can receive up to 10 additional points in scoring, and we will cover the scoring shortly. A public facility is any facility open and accessible to the public for a minimum of 8 hours per day between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. for at least 5 days a week. For example, a gas station that is open to the general public from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. with unrestricted access is considered a public facility. A private facility is any facility that restricts the general public's right to access the facility in any manner. For example, a hotel with a gated entry, even if the station is available 24/7, because it has restricted access to the general public, would be considered private. The following are the maximum award amounts for an individual application. A CNG or LNG project is a maximum of $400,000. CNG and LNG project combined is a maximum of $600,000. Other alternative fuel projects are $600,000 or 50% of the eligible project cost, whichever is less. Eligible project costs include costs directly related to the implementation of the project, including equipment, supplies and materials, construction and contract services. These costs must be incurred on or after the program opening date. We will be reviewing the budget during the application review process and ensuring costs are in the correct categories and are eligible expenses. Please take time when completing your application to ensure your projected expenses are in the correct cost categories. These costs listed on the next two slides are ineligible project costs. The eligible and ineligible costs are listed in the RFGA. Ineligible costs include insurance premiums, salaries and travel expenses for an employee of the grantee, expenses of any lobbyist registered in Texas, costs associated with the preparation and submission of the grant application, administrative costs of the grantee, facility improvements, and equipment not directly associated with the equipment to store, compress, or dispense the alternative fuel, purchase of an existing alternative fueling facility structure, land, or an interest in land, permitting costs for TCEQ issued permits, costs that do not involve an arm's length transaction. Examples would be the use of existing inventory without a proof of purchase or transactions between affiliated companies. Food and drink, and any costs incurred before the grant round opening of the program opening date. Applications will be evaluated, scored, and ranked based upon the representations in the application at the time of submission. Once selected for a grant, any changes made to the representation in the application that reduce the total project score will make any resulting contracts voidable. For example, if you request a change in the number of ports for an electricity charging station or the location or for your station, you request to change that, and it causes your score to be reduced, your contract can be voided. Applications will be scored on the location of the proposed project and its ability to close the existing infrastructure gaps along the interstate highways that make up the CTZ. TCEQ may conduct site visits at any time of the application process or after award of the grant. Applications must be completed and submitted to TCEQ by 5 p.m. Central Time on the program closing date. An application that is not complete will be considered ineligible. A complete application must include all pages of the application that you download, including those that do not require any information to be filled out or signatures. Also check the list at the end of the application to ensure you are including all required attachments. We also need the applicant's contact information, all required signatures, and all information for TCEQ to score and rank the project according to the scoring criteria listed in the RFGA. The next two slides will show the scoring criteria. This slide lists the specific scoring for natural gas projects. For all existing amenities, all proposed alternative fueling facilities that have an existing amenity on site or have at least 2 existing amenities within 1/4 mile of the proposed facility will receive 5 points. Those that have at least 2 amenities available on site will receive 10 points. Amenities that will be considered for this criteria are restaurants, hotels, grocery stores, retail shopping, entertainment, parks, municipal, state, or federal buildings, and public restrooms. For hours of operation preference, only facilities open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week will receive the 10 points. This slide lists the specific scoring criteria for all other alternative fueling projects, and I'll give you a moment to look at this information. Applicants selected for grant funding will be required to sign a contract with TCEQ. A draft contract shell and scope of work will be available for review and download at terpgrants.org. Any requested changes to the draft contract must be received by TCEQ no later than the application submission date. It is very important for grantees to review and be familiar with their contract and contract requirements for the life of their grant. In addition to signing the contract, additional tasks and information are required before TCEQ will provide grant funds. Within 1 year of signing the contract, the grantee will be required to provide proof of insurance, a site host agreement or site ownership document that meets the criteria outlined in the contract. Upon submission and approval of all required documents, a notice to proceed with grant activities will be issued to the grantee. Payments are made by reimbursement for eligible expenses incurred and paid for in full by grantee. Documentation will be required to show that the cost has been received and paid for before reimbursement is provided by TCEQ. Grantees may submit multiple reimbursement requests prior to project completion. However, 10% of the total grant amount will be withheld until TCEQ receives and approves the final implementation report. We will discuss the implementation reports on the next slide. All activities must be completed, all costs incurred, the final implementation report received, and the final request for reimbursement submitted to TCEQ by the RFR submission deadline provided on your contract. The implementation period is the time in which the grantee is purchasing equipment, building, and putting the station into service. Grantees are required to submit progress reports biannually, and it is important for grantees to review the reporting requirements in their contract before and while completing their reports to ensure that they are submitting all the correct information at the correct time. When the final request for reimbursement is paid, the contract will move from the implementation period to the operation period. The operation period will last for 3 years. During this time, grantees will be required to submit annual operation reports on TCEQ provided forms. Again, it is very important for grantees to review the reporting requirements in the contract while completing their reports, as this will provide the date reports are due and the details that need to be included in the reports. This concludes the overview of the AFFP program. To receive notifications on any TERP-related grant openings or webinars, please go to terpgrant.org, as we discussed earlier, and you can also sign up for updates. Annette will now walk you through the application.
Good afternoon. My name is Annette Barganer, and I will provide you with a walkthrough of the AFFP application. You may notice that some of this information is repeated from Jackie's presentation. Also, the application you will see is a sample application. Please review the application carefully at the time you apply, as there may be minor changes from what is presented today. If you have any questions, please write down the page number and we will take your questions at the end of the presentation. The application will be available on the TCEQ website located at terpgrants.org on the program opening date. You will need to download and save the application to your computer to complete it. You may only include one project site and one alternative fuel type per application. The only exception is if you are submitting an application that includes a combination of compressed natural gas and liquid natural gas. In Section 1, you will provide the legal name of the applicant, the business type, the federal employer identification number or social security number, depending on the type of applicant, and you will indicate if the applicant is a small business. Also in Section 1, you will enter contact information for the authorized official and designated project representative if the designated project representative is not the same as the authorized official. Ensure you provide all of the contact information, including the titles of any names listed. Section 2 is completed if someone other than the applicant or an employee of the applicant prepares the application. Then that person will need to complete Section 2 and sign the certification. All applicants need to complete Section 3, even if child support obligations do not apply. The next 2 pages of the application are Section 4, General Certifications. Please read these carefully as they will apply to any contract awarded by TCEQ from this application. Moving on to Section 5, Program Certifications. In this section, the applicant certifies ownership of the property where the proposed facility will be located, and the signatory consents to installation of the proposed facility on this property and agrees to keep the proposed facility in operation and in service for a minimum of 3 years after installation. Section 6 is where you will enter details about the proposed project. First, you will select infrastructure fuel type and indicate if you have received a TERP, TXVMP, or any other grant or incentive for alternative fueling at this site. In Section 6.2 at the bottom of the page, you will first select if the facility is public or private. We consider a public facility to be open to the public at least 8 hours per day for at least 5 days a week between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. If you indicate that your facility is open to the public, you will then complete the hours of operation in the next table. If your facility is open and available to the public 24 hours a day, you may just check the 24-hour column. If not, please indicate the available hours using the next 2 columns. Moving along in Section 6, provide the address of the proposed project location, including the latitude and longitude. You will also need to attach a site plan to the application. Please be sure that we can clearly see how many roads access the facility, including driveways and access points from public roads. Also, clearly label the quarter-mile area around the proposed site and show the location of the amenities listed in the application. Also in Section 6, indicate if the project is a new construction or reconstruction project. Reconstruction is defined as the expansion of a site to provide a new and different alternative fuel that does not exist at the site. Also provide a brief project summary. Please describe any fuels that exist at the site and what new alternative fuel will be added. Finally, in Section 6, please select any amenities located on site and any that are located within a quarter-mile of the proposed facility, and be sure that these are shown on your site plan. In Section 7, you will list all proposed costs. Be sure to refer to Section 3.2 of the RFGA to confirm you are categorizing your cost accurately. Equipment is tangible property over $10,000. Supplies and materials have a unit cost of less than $10,000. Construction includes planning, design, engineering, labor, subcontracts for services in connection with construction, and facility improvements such as paving, foundations, and installation. And contract services include non-construction related costs for subcontracted or hired out professional services. In Section 8, you will provide the totals for each category from Section 7 and enter your requested grant amount. Maximum requests are $400,000 for a CNG or LNG project, $600,000 for a combined CNG and LNG project, and for fuels other than natural gas, the maximum award is 50% of eligible costs or $600,000, whichever is less. Now we're coming to the end of the application. In Section 9, please remember to sign and date this page and use the Section 10 checklist to ensure all required documents are included. Please pay special attention to the IRS Form W-9, enter all of the information correctly, check the required boxes, and sign and date. There is also an example of a site plan for your reference at the end of the application. After you have reviewed your application and confirmed all of the questions are answered, the information is entered correctly, and all required attachments are included, please submit the entire application using the instructions on the main AFFP webpage. We will now open the webinar to take any questions that you have.